Hey, we're in the winning business. And if you ain't winning, you ain't got no damn business in here. Woo! One love, baby. Yeah!
What's going on, y'all? It is Copizzle, and if you see in the title, we got a very special guest tonight, and I'm genuinely excited about this. I hope you guys are ready for a great New York Giants discussion tonight, Friday night, right before probably the biggest game we've had in a really long time. And I brought in none other than the one and only ChuckKnoxx. And let me just say, Chuck, before you say anything, I want to say, and I'm going to sound a little sus right now, but I love you, Chuck. I genuinely love you, man. Every time I've ever watched one of ChuckKnoxx's videos, I say, man, that is my brother from another mother, because I know you bleed big blue just like I do. What's going on, Chuck?
Well, I first of all, thanks for that amazing intro there, brother. I am first of all very happy to be on the longest running New York Giant channel in the entire show, right? In the entire game. Thank you for that, brother. Appreciate it.
No, absolutely. Now, there is, I mean, first of all, you know, tell everybody. So I know who ChuckKnoxx is, and I'm sure a lot of people do, but anybody that doesn't know, please tell everybody that doesn't know who ChuckKnoxx is. Tell them what your channel's all about, and who you are, and what you enjoy doing here on YouTube.
Well, so leading up to the 2011 Super Bowl run, I created a channel, Mr. ChuckKnoxx, and it was just really started to do something for hype videos, get fans ready for that run, starting with that Jets game, then the Dallas game. And it kind of just hit this thing that was like a magical run where everybody tuned in every week to kind of get hyped up for that. And next thing I know, it just became a yearly thing. So since 2011, it's been hype videos, reaction videos, podcasts, just trying to offer some kind of different Giants content that's out there right now.
And guys, anybody that's in the chat, at some point I'll open it up for questions if you want to ask Chuck any questions or anything like that. So we'll open up here in just a little bit, but I mean, so I know you, Chuck, because you and I, you don't really talk shit, but I mean, you're also bringing a lot of heat in your content. You know,
yeah.
We're fucking them up, and you're going nuts. How hard has the last few years been for you, with the Giants? Just, because people don't realize, like, you have all this pride, you have all this energy, and you're excited about seeing the game. But when they're a 5-win team or a 6-win team, it's just so hard to, create that same energy. Like, how hard has it been the last few years?
Well, for me, and you're the same way. I mean, when you're passionate like this, the Giants, even in those terrible seasons, you still get hyped up for those games. Obviously, it's not the same like this, but you're still happy to see the Giants play. But for me, as a content creator, knowing that you're trying to hype up fans for a 4-win team and going through 6, straight losses, sometimes we have these just terrible streaks. It's awful because you're giving all your energy into something that a very small, portion of people are really going to give a shit about. But I think that's what ultimately, and you're the same way, you never miss a beat. Your channel is like this long-standing documentary that shows that the entire time, good or bad, you were there. I was there. So I'm proud to look back at those seasons, even though I hate what happened to us. It's been like I've been like a caged lion for the last 6 years and really foaming at the mouth to get to this kind of shit. But I'm proud of the fact that I didn't fold. I look back at those and it's laughable to know that I'm screaming, going nuts. And then we went out and we lost 4,000-5, whatever the fuck happened. But it was tough, man. It was tough.
Yeah. So which led me to my next question is, like, how awesome has this year been? Because, for me, I've just been so grateful, that the Giants have gotten back up on their feet and gotten back into the position that I feel like they deserve to be in. So, like, how much has it just been this year, just, coming back from the dead, if you will?
Yeah, that's what it feels like. I remember we did this 2019. And obviously things were a lot different, but I remember, I think I said to you then that my entire run from 2011 on has been like chasing this dragon, imaginary dragon, where I just was waiting to get this feeling back. And honestly, from this season on, I mean, from really the 2-point conversion in week 1,
Yeah,
it's been like this constant roller coaster, but it's like this ascending. It's just going up, and you could feel it getting closer and closer. And around that mid-season form where the entire fan base was kind of on the same wavelength here, everybody was excited. People started to really believe in Daniel Jones. And then it hit me. It's like, this has kind of come full circle. As a content creator, this is amazing. Like, to be able to sit here and rally fans that are all on the same page. This is what I think a lot of us have been waiting for. But as a fan personally, not just a content creator, this is a dream come true, dude. You don't know when you're going to ever get here. 2016, it feels like a long time ago. And it is. Ever. But 2011, I mean, the last time we were on the top of the mountain, that's a lifetime ago. That feels like a lifetime ago, dude.
I know. Well, I wanted to mention that Titans game, and
sure,
maybe you felt this same way too, or maybe there was a different point in the season. I was in Nashville. I was at the Titans game against week 1, and for me, if you remember the first half of that game, it didn't go so well. And then the second half, the Giants really came on, and we have that, magical win at the end of the game.
Yeah.
And I remember just sitting there, Chuck, and thinking like, holy shit, we got something here. Like it didn't feel like, oh, we just, we got lucky or this team's not any good. I was like, something just happened in front of my eyes that I haven't seen in a long time from the Giants. And so it's like, I kind of felt then like, I think we've turned this corner. Maybe I was being biased at that time, but is there any point in the season where you've like, you know what, we're done with the shit that we've been doing last couple of years?
There were 2 moments. And I think I bring this up in the hype video that's going to come out later on tonight for the playoffs. This was the moment where the 2-point conversion, the go ahead 2-point conversion, that's where there was a sense of, okay, we're not playing to go for a tie. We're not playing for just to be here. We're going to cut your throat. We're going for the win. And then the other moment was the 4th down stop in Jacksonville. At that moment, very similar to the play in Washington years ago during that championship season. I think it was week 2.
The goal line stand.
The goal line stands.
Yeah.
I felt that was the moment that this entire culture shifted. You could see it on the sidelines, the way that we got the locker room footage of Daboll dancing and everybody having a great time to Biggie. Right off the bat, the season felt different. This wasn't a, manufactured moment of Joe Judge running in the mud trying to get the ball or taking the team out for bowling. This was an authentic moment, and we've seen it week after week, the energy in that locker room, the energy on the sidelines. And I think that those 2 moments, to me, no matter how far we go here, I think will stand out as the 2 like benchmark moments that gave me as a fan the validation that, okay, this shit has turned around.
Yeah. So, and what about Daniel? I mean, you make a lot of hype videos and things like that. And I know that on Facebook, you really get your points across through words.
Yeah.
But a lot of your videos, it's kind of, these, there's not a lot of like feelings about like, there's a lot of intensity to it, but talk to me about Daniel for a second, like, and how you felt about him before this season started, how the seasons went on, and then hopeful for like the playoffs, for example.
Well, I think that from the very beginning for Daniel Jones, I think I've been on record. I mean, I've kind of made like a dedicated half my channel to this guy. I have full on, love songs to this guy on some of these videos, but I love him. I love where he's at right now. I love the fact that he has progressed every single year. And there was a moment when I came into this season where I thought, if Daniel has a typical season where he has just a little bit more touchdowns than ratio to interceptions, and the turnovers don't improve, drastically, then I was telling myself internally that whatever this front office wants to do, I'm cool with it.
Sure.
But you could see from week 1, then you see the way he's, leading this team with, I call them Amazon truck drivers, but really void of talent at the skill position of the entire offense.
Put a little more respect on Darius Slayton's name.
Darius Slayton. Now, Slayton's the man, but he's surrounded by other guys that delivered my mail last summer. But you could see it building up with Jones. And for me, as a guy that happens to just think the world of this kid, to see him improve on every negative, it's been remarkable, because I think a lot of us that were not trying to get caught in the emotion of everything in the last few years paid attention to the fact that, hey, wait a minute, I've never seen a top 10 quarterback that was picked in the top 10 have to go through, 3-4 offensive coordinators and 3 head coaches in 3 or 4 years. It's insane.
Yeah.
Let alone the fact that this guy hasn't had the talent surrounded for him to build into this quarterback that he's supposed to be. So to see his numbers improve the way they are this year, to see him lead these drives, I love when I see these fans that are, and I really believe they're the same fans that were burning Eli's jersey, his year 3 before he won the Super Bowl. And these fans, they look at the stats constantly. They want to see these Madden numbers. They want to see this Madden rating go up. And like, who gives a shit? He's putting his team in a position to win every week, whether it's a crucial 3rd down, a crucial 4th down play. And he's doing it in the air, on the ground. So for me, the guy has had an incredible season. I'm proud of him. I'm proud of.
I think you might have cut it. I think you might have cut out there, Chuck. You still with us?
Are you there?
Yeah, there you go. There you go. You're back.
There you go. Okay, no, I just think his season, he's earned more than enough for our respect, and even his doubter.
Well, like, what's funny to me? So you mentioned about Eli 3rd year, and that was when I or he was coming into that 4th. That was one of the biggest reasons why I joined YouTube, was because I was like, man, somebody needs to go on somewhere. And at the time I was on message boards. The Giants.com had message boards at the time, and I was going on there just, ranting and raving about Eli's the guy, and then I found YouTube, and I was like, it's a good platform for me to do this. And, also supporting Eli. And what's funny about that is, Phil Simms, I was talking to a friend of mine, Big Blue Jabroni, for those that in the comments that know who he is. He was telling me about how Phil Simms went through that same issue, which is 100% true. So it's a lot of our great quarterbacks have went through this thing before, where these fans think they know more than they really do. And, it's like Danny's went through the same process. And he just comes off to me like an underdog. And for somebody like me who loves a good underdog story, I'm really proud of him as a fan of what he's been able to do this year. And look, as much as I love Darius Slayton, I agree. Like, the receiving core could be a lot better. I mean, absolutely. And it will be a focal point, I feel like, in the offseason. But I've just been so proud of Daniel, and I just wanted you to have that opportunity to share that with everyone.
Well, you bringing up the wide receivers, though, I think is an interesting point about Daniel, is that, every quarterback we've ever had in our lifetime, the measure of a great quarterback was also what he does to guys and talent around him. Daniel Jones is leading a team of really subpar skill set players, elevating everybody.
Yeah. And look, I loved Eli. I really did. But in fairness, Eli, he had some great guys around him too. He had Plaxico. He had Hakeem Nicks. He had some really talented receivers. And in fact, I feel like, a guy like Plaxico took him over the top.
Oh, no question.
And elevated his game. Yeah. But at the same, that doesn't mean that Eli wasn't any good. I felt like he was and believed in him, but even he had guys.
Oh, he also won 2 rings with 2 different sets of skill receivers and tight ends, which is kind of unheard of.
Yeah. And so what about, what's your, just give me your thoughts and opinions about Daboll for a second, just because I know you've got to be just so excited about what he's been able to do.
Well, the last few coaching, I never wanted Coughlin to go, first and foremost.
I was kind of the same way. Yeah.
Yeah. I know a lot of people were kind of sour. It was like, okay, we're at the end of the road, but I was against that, but I accepted it because it was, let's try some new blood. With McAdoo, it was very exciting, that 2016 season that quickly fell apart. And I was against Shermer. I believe I wanted Rule ahead of Judge, but I was a fan of Judge at first. I think a lot of us were. But then Daboll's the only coach in my since Coughlin that actually wanted from the very beginning. I honestly feel like he's like one of us. He's like one of us fans. If we fooled everybody, long enough to become a head coach, they let us in the door. He's like all of us. He's a normal guy. He knows how to have the pulse of this locker room, and he's got brass balls.
Well, I think that, truthfully, Chuck, I think Daboll is everything that they thought Judge was going to be.
Oh, yeah, I definitely think so.
Like, and I kind of blame McAdoo for the Shermer thing, because I don't, after 2016, you come back the following year and you have a nightmare season. I don't think Mara knew what to do with McAdoo.
Mm-hmm.
He was a little confused there, and we was late in the game there, and then they ended up with Shermer, because I don't think, and that goes to Gettleman. Gettleman, to me, that's one of the things that he failed at, was acquiring the right coaching staff for this organization to succeed. It's frustrating because I see that he did bring in some really nice talent and some really good players, but he failed with the coaching staff. And so as a big Giants fan, such as yourself, like it's just great to see this team have a true leader and a great NFL mind leading this organization again.
Well, it's also great to have an identity again. Our identity for the last 10 years is to lose, and to lose pretty badly, and have a lot of heartbreakers. To have that toughness back, that blue collar, big blue identity back, it's amazing. And I think that starts from the very top, all the way from Joe to Dabs, all the way down. And it's infectious, dude.
And so let me ask you this. What about which side of the ball have you loved more this season, the offense or defense? I think I know what your answer, but which coordinator and which side of the ball have you enjoyed most?
Well, I think, let's give the offense some credit here, just because, again, they're kind of playing with house money. They're just getting what they can get done with what they have. Mm-hmm. And it's been great to see guys come in like Hodgins, who's been amazing. I've had quite the love affair with Richie James, back and forth. We're in a very toxic relationship. One day I like him, one day I don't. But the offense has surprised me, and I love the offense because of Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley. But the defense, I think, is what keeps me confident in this team. I think that I never lose sleep knowing that ultimately this defense has the right personnel, especially now with everybody coming back. And I'm a fan of Wink. I mean, I love Wink, and you live and die by the blitz. I'm all for it. Sometimes, like in the Minnesota game, you're going to, that last blitz was ultimately what killed us there, but that's not the story of the game. And you don't even get into that position without some of those defensive calls to begin with. So I have to say the defense for me has been my favorite part of this season.
And that's why I love you, Chuck, because you say you got to live and die by the blitz, right? Mm-hmm. And you can't, as a fan, and I see this all the time, you can't 1 minute say, oh, I love Martindale, I love it, he's, oh, look at this great pressure, look at this great defense. And then all of a sudden, when he does do that and it fails, like the Minnesota game,
right, then
you're bashing him on Twitter or YouTube or what. It's like, damned if you do, damned, like, you know what I mean? Like it's you live and die by it. That's what that's what we signed up for with him being the defensive coordinator.
And I think the proof is in the pudding that the majority of it has worked. There's moments that you get maybe some wrong personnel, or, let's be honest, in that Minnesota game, you're playing with your two best players in the secondary. So maybe that play never even happens if it's this Sunday. But no, I'm the same way. I was that way with Spags. A lot of people didn't like sometimes how blitz happy he was, but you live and die by the blitz. And let's be honest, Wink Martindale, this guy, this is like the guy was born in a New York Giants laboratory.
I know, right? It's like he just screams New York Giant.
Oh, the cutoff sleeves, the mullet, the shades. This motherfucker is fantastic.
Who's your favorite player on the team right now?
Oh, geez, that's a tough one, man.
Who's your go-to guy? And by the way, I want to give you credit. I love how you've evolved to you're watching like the games, and you have a clip of like you watching the game. You got your Lawrence Taylor jersey on. I love that you've added that to your channel.
Well, I have to change shirts and stuff because I'm sure most Giants fans are very superstitious. So you know, you have to win, you got to wear the same outfit. If you don't, you have to change everything. But favorite Giant, I mean, I love Daniel Jones. I don't know who I go after that. There's a lot of guys on defense that I love. You know, Thibodeaux is becoming one of my favorite Giants. I know that's a controversy. We'll get into that in a little bit. I think that's a hot topic, but I just love.
Give it to me. You talking about like the Snow Angels?
Yeah, I think that. Okay, so I think if anybody follows me, they kind of know that I support it. I look at it like this: you
ended one of your last videos.
Yes, I mean, come on, it's absurd. The whole image of this guy doing, first of all, snow angel with no fucking precipitation on the ground whatsoever. Number one. Number two, Nick Foles is dead. He's laying there dead on the ground, and he is. I don't know if KT was oblivious or he didn't give a shit. One way or the other.
Had any idea?
I don't know if he did or not, but the fact that he's sitting there, his body is literally touching him and he doesn't care. It's an absurd image. But again, it's like I grew up in the 80s and the 90s, the football, the brutality and the bravado and the balls that it took, you know, to pull this off. I feel like you need a dog like that on your sidelines. You need a guy like that on your defensive squad. So what he brings to the Giants, I think people that criticize that, if you try to put this guy in a cage, you're going to fuck that up. And I don't like how people just try to attack him. Nobody on this team had a problem with it. Martindale didn't have a problem with it. Nobody in the coaching staff spoke out against it. And if they don't have a problem with it, who gives a shit?
Yeah. And, you know, it's funny you were talking about, like, you remember the 80s, the 80s Giants. And those teams, those late 80 teams, Giants, they're like gods to me. I mean, they're just like the you know, guys like Lawrence Taylor and Banks and then Carson and all them guys. Like, it's rare that you ever see a guy and all the years of watching the Giants where you see a player in today's game and you think, hey, that dude could have ran with them boys back then. And I look at Kayvon like that.
Oh, definitely.
Now. And I didn't feel that way at the start of the year. I didn't know how he would be. But watching him play, and especially at the end of this year, it's like, man, that dude could have been on the other side. That he could have been on the other side of LT. I could see that. And so, look, we saw some. I mean, if you watch Giants football, the history of it, there's some big hits and a lot of celebrating going on. You know, I mean,
well, you know, I brought up this point about Dexter Lawrence because a lot of people are having this. To me, it's fake outrage about Kayvon's, you know, dance and everything. And I get it. You have your opinions. Everybody has their different opinions, but it's like when Dexter Lawrence crushes a man and he lays over 300 pounds on somebody, we don't know in that split second what damage has been done to that quarterback. But what we do see is sexy Dex get up and do his lap dance and dance. And we love it, right? We love it. So I feel like we pick and choose like which celebrations and what's appropriate after somebody's just been, you know, brutalized.
Well, the year before I joined YouTube in 2006, they were doing the balling thing. Remember they were doing the
absolutely, yeah.
And so and of course I thought that was funny and hilarious, but it's just one of them things where it's fake outrage. It's the PC world that we live in now, unfortunately, and so it just kind of comes with the territory. But look,
unfortunately.
So you don't. So Kayvon, anybody else just off the top, like guys that you just absolutely love?
I love Dexter Lawrence.
Well, I was going to say, wasn't you a big Landon Collins guy?
I love Landon Collins. I was so happy when we brought Landon back, and I think there was a lot of people who were naive about that, thinking that we're going to get this 2016, you know, defensive player of the year. But the guy, for the packages that they use him in, it was such a smart pickup. And I know that it was tough for Landon to sit there on the practice squad and kind of watch everything. But boy, I tell you, what an impact he's had on this defense. I love seeing him back. I love McKinney. I know people have look, I mean, who knows what would have happened if that incident never happens. I love Adoree Jackson. We have a really strong defense.
Well,
on all three levels.
I think McKinney and Adoree Jackson coming back this weekend is going to make a huge difference. Because when we played the Vikings the first go around this season, we didn't have them guys.
No.
And so being able to have them, and of course, Azeez, he got hurt early in that game.
Mm-hmm.
So being able, to look at the injury report today and it says nothing.
It's unbelievable.
It's like, man, I can't. That's a dream come true,
You're
right?
talking January wild card football, and the Giants are healthy for the first time.
And Minnesota's offensive line supposedly is banged up. They're going to be without their right tackle. I think they're down to their third string center. I mean, Dexter should eat.
Well, Dexter, it doesn't matter who's in front of him. Let's be honest. I mean, he's had an all-pro season. I think he got selected to the second all-pro today, him and Andrew Thomas, that's kind of shitty. But this guy's having an unbelievable season. I think he's the absolute key to that entire front. There's no question.
Tell me, I don't know if I asked you this last time, and if I did, I forgot, which is a bad look on my part. But who is your most hated team?
Well, so I think it's different. It's like different levels of hatred. Like, honestly, when anybody brings up the Redskins, call them what you want this week. But when anybody brings up Washington, I don't really, nothing elicits that from me. I don't feel anything. I just
don't feel
nothing at all.
I feel the same way.
Yeah, so I think most of us do.
Nothing comes to me.
No, they're just there. They're in the room. They're like the guy that sits in the corner and watches somebody bang his wife. But I
don't know. You like the Phoenix Cardinals used to be in the NFC East with us.
Nobody noticed.
Nobody gave a shit. Like, it was the same thing. Yeah, it was like
they had to move out to the West because nobody even knew they were there.
Yeah, they would. Yeah.
Philly and Dallas, to me, it's weird because, like, I hate both fan bases, but I hate them differently for different reasons. Like, Dallas fans are delusional. Like, every single year, they're the most delusional people on the planet. Then you have Philly fans, and they're scumbags. They're just straight scumbags. They don't shower. They're very violent. And so you have these two competing factions of just disgusting people. So, and then we get to the teams. I hate the teams because the teams themselves, right now, they've been kicking our ass. That's the shittiest thing about this, is that we really can't even talk. And so for me, I'd have to say overall, I think I hate Philly just because of the long-standing rival between the two cities and everything else. But overall, I mean, I think everybody hates Dallas. The whole world hates Dallas.
So let me ask you this, because I feel like it's important for the Giants and really all of the pain that we've been going through. I feel like it's important to, assuming we get through Minnesota, I would love to go and play Philly and the Cowboys back to back.
100%.
Do you feel that same way, or like on Monday night, are you just like, man, fuck these Cowboys, I hope they lose right now?
No, I won't care if they lose, but
I mean, we're not really you're not actively rooting for them, but it's almost like in your heart, you're like, man, I want to be the one to take these fuckers out.
Not only that, as a fan for me, and I think we all kind of feel that way. I mean, to get revenge on them after what we've suffered, especially from Dallas, to have the chance to knock them out of the playoffs, I think is just, you have no choice but to want that. But also, let's just say that that's what happens. There's no question that the Giants at that point, the road that they would have had to take to get to the Super Bowl, who the hell has a better, who's been tested more at that point?
I know.
You take all three of those teams, you take them all out. So yeah, that's what I'm rooting for. Absolutely.
And I feel like you couldn't ask for a better time to play Philly.
No,
if you could get through. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, it would be the right time to play them if we could just get through Minnesota.
Well, all joking aside about the two teams, because I think they're really good teams. I still think San Francisco overall, I think, might be the best team in the NFC. But you have they're vulnerable. I mean, let's be real. Dallas is a very streaky team, and Dak just turns the ball over left and right. And so if you're a Cowboys fan, you have to be concerned about the fact that you play up and you play down. Philly, I think, without Lane Johnson, and they got a couple other injuries, I think, but they are a different team now. I think that they're vulnerable, and I think people have kind of figured out how to play Hurts and that offense. So we'll see. I think that they showed they had everything they had against us, and we had our ninth string guys out there last Sunday, and it took everything they had to win that game. That was encouraging. That was a win for the Giants.
Did you notice in that game how much Martindale was blitzing Hurts?
Oh, unbelievable.
I mean, I was like, is he just throwing this at him just because he's, seeing how if he's 100% or did he has he found something that he would employ, or put out there in next week if we're able to get the chance to play him?
Well, even if that's not the Giants playing Philly next week, I think the blueprint's out there. I think what happened last week, and I do think there's something to the fact that maybe he's not 100%. I don't think he could be 100%. So I think that's also in his head. But I think if you're Philly, you're heading into the playoffs and you're not feeling great. I think that's a foregone conclusion for probably them and Dallas at this point. Dallas got their ass whipped. So even though we lost to Philly at the very end of the season here, I still think that the Giants themselves, the morale is at an all-time high, and I think it was a smart move just holding everybody out.
I have the feeling that the Cowboys are a tougher matchup for us than Philly is. I don't have like I'm just not afraid of Philly for some reason. I don't know why. I don't. It has nothing to do against the last game. I've seen us have a little bit of success against them the last couple years. I mean, you can go back to even 2020 where it's like if Evan Ingram just catches the damn ball, we've got a sweep of them. But the Cowboys, it's like we've had no luck against them for at least 5 years, the last 5 years. Like we've just had nothing.
Well, especially against Dak. I mean, Dak pretty much owns the Giants.
I don't get that.
I don't either. And I feel like he's a walking disaster at some point. I do respect Dak. I think he's a little overrated, but I think he's a good quarterback. But it's the Cowboys just have our number. But I also feel like anytime we play Philly on primetime, that's just like, oh, shit. It's like, oh, really?
I know.
That goes back all the way to the Victor Cruz game. You remember that? I mean, that was the night game, and it seems like every time we play them at night, something bad happens. Daniel Jones trips over something on the field. This is disaster every time.
Speaking of like old games, do you have an old game that you remember maybe from your childhood or just teenage years? Is there one game that just always comes back to mind, maybe other than a Super Bowl that you just absolutely loved?
Well, the 93 Giants playoff run was fantastic. I think
that's a good one. Yeah.
Well, even leading into that game, the final week of the season, the Cowboys game, which I still have recorded on VHS, but it's
that's so awesome.
Summerall, Madden, you grew up in that era. It was fantastic. That whole run, I love that team. You cannot go wrong with the 99 or 2000 championship game with the Vikings. There's so many great games.
That's one of my favorite teams.
Oh, from start to finish, it's one of my favorites of all time. If we're not talking Super Bowl related, even the more recent, the Broncos one where they had the perfect record coming into Giants
that was
Stadium.
97, 98.
Fantastic game.
Yeah, that was a good one. We've had some great games in the playoff. Well, I was going to say the matchups against the Vikings. There's a little bit of history there.
Oh, there's a couple of them.
Yeah, I mean,
and we've lost a couple of those as well, but they were good games.
Well, the game, the NFC Championship game in 2000 against them was, I feel like, the most perfect Giant game of all time.
Oh, 100%.
41-0. I mean, they just absolutely dominated them from start to finish. And it kills me today that they have the turf that they do, because I don't know if you remember that, like that game, it was in Giant Stadium. They got the grass field, which I think played a part into that, because at the time Minnesota was a dome team.
Yeah.
And I don't know if the grass was really affecting them or whatnot. Obviously the Giants team was a good team, but it's like, it just seemed like outdoors, cold, the grass, Giant Stadium. It just, we had those, they were New Jerseys at the time, but they've always had this old school feel to them.
Yeah.
It just screamed Giants football to me. Like
it felt old school Giants at Yankee Stadium vibes.
Yeah, it did. It felt old school Giants, and it's a game that I always think about it. And it's so funny because we're playing the Vikings this week, and obviously we're playing at their house. But it's always great to have those as a fan, to have those memorable games growing up, and just just thinking about how much you enjoy watching Giants football.
Well, I think there's like playoffs. So we have our own divisional, obviously, rivals in our division, but I think we have these historical playoff rivals like the 49ers.
Yeah.
And I'll throw in the Vikings in there as well, and the Packers. And I feel like we meet these teams in the playoffs and we usually get good games out of them. And one thing I think is never talked about except for like their 90s runs, but the Giants, these last few runs that they were on, going back to that 2000 and then of course the 2 Super Bowls, the Giants take out all the favorites and they never get credit for that. When we talk about those runs, we never talk about how every favorite they said that we couldn't beat, we did it every time.
Yeah. And I was going to say too, in the 80s, the Bears was a part of that list.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, and of course they've been terrible for however long now, but they were a part of it. You're right. I mean, the Giants have had these certain teams where it's like there's a history there of playoff matchups. And
it adds an extra, like it's like having a cousin. We have these brothers in our division that we hate, and then we get these cousins every once in a while.
Yeah. And I said somebody asked me the other day, like, who do you want to play? If the Giants got to the Super Bowl, who do you want to play as a matchup? And I didn't even, Chuck, it took me 3 seconds to answer. I said Ravens. It's just because I want that Super Bowl 35 payback so damn bad. It's not that, I think they could beat the Ravens. It's just, and I've seen some people talking about the Bills.
Oh, I would love the Bills matchup on paper, but like historically, the Ravens. I mean, I'm all about revenge. The revenge tour. I love the whole concept of that. But that Ravens Super Bowl, I can honestly say, and I've said this to you, I think before, but my stuff is not a shtick. It's not a gimmick. Like I literally believe we're going to win every game. And, and of course, when you have that happen in your life where you beat the undefeated Patriots and you always defy the odds, you start adapting to that philosophy. So I feel like this team can beat anybody at any given Sunday. That's my mindset. But that Ravens Super Bowl, I kind of went into that and I'm like, I don't know about this one. That team's like way too strong on defense. And it was over so quick. You never felt like we were even in the damn game.
I know, man. Well, there's 2 instances in that game that stick with me. Number one is I felt that way too, where it's like the first half was just terrible. Then Ron Dixon opens the second half with that return kickoff. And I said, hell yeah, here we go. This is it. And then they literally the next play, they return it back all the way back for a touchdown. Right. And I'm like, son of a bitch. But
there was a small hope that kickoff made me just start to believe a little bit more. And then
it's like, oh yeah, I'm reeled in now. Here we go. Yeah, and I will never forget too. Michael Barrow, was a linebacker for the Giants, and he met Jamal Lewis at the goal line. Yeah, and Lewis just completely just won that matchup, and I loved Barrow. Like I was such a fan of those guys, like Jesse Armstead, and to see them just get just beat the way they did. I mean it was hard. It was hard on me as a fan, and I was a teenager at the time. But man, the games like that, but they put that fan. They really it's almost it injects the fan that pride in you, though.
Even in a game like that, it's disheartening. You know what I mean?
It's disheartening. But then you realize like how much you give a shit about them. You know what I'm saying? Like you're like, damn, I feel some kind of way right now, getting my ass kicked.
Yeah, and I think that when you say somebody brought this up to me that they know Vikings fans are wanting revenge for 2000. And I thought initially when I commented, I'm thinking, well, who the fuck wants revenge 23 years later? And then I started to think about it. I thought, you know what? Fuck the Ravens. I want revenge all these years later too.
I'm a revengeful fuck. I mean, please. I just remember being in that situation of just embarrassed because I was just like, damn, like I don't know about you, Chuck, but when I was in grade school, or from first grade all the way to senior in high school, I was telling all my friends, the Giants, man, Giants this, Giants that, and I never had there was not a lot of years there for me to be like, oh yeah, we're the team, we're it, and I would always see friends that would be fans of other teams, and they would be happy, that there was some cowboy years there that was really brutal. But it was just like that was that one year that I had in school where it's like, yeah, my team's it, you know, my team's the thing. And just to watch him get, I was like, oh, I was like, man, I know I'm going to get some heat this week, you know, about how terrible my team played. But
that initial run, that's for me, like, so 93, that was the playoff run there. That ended up being LT and Phil Simms' last year. And it was like the LT, there was a transition really to the next phase. But for me, I was a teenager. I think I was 14 or so at the time. And those years from the Super Bowl on, I was able to brag. I was able to wear my Giants stuff everywhere. And then it was like, boom, it was a cutoff. It was like, you are going dry. Yeah. And for the next 5 years or so, it was just awful. And
it was Cowboys.
Well, it was Cowboys, and it was watching everybody else just get successful. And then to have that quick little run there with Kerry Collins and everybody at the turn of the century, it felt great. And then, you know, again, we take another 4 or 5 years off. And I think so for fans, the older you are, I really believe that you appreciate this stuff. You have to appreciate it more than the younger fans. It's no knock on them. And there's a lot of fans that are probably listening to this right now that grew up in the era of the Eli Manning era. So you got 2 Super Bowls, and it's almost feel like, well, this happens all the time. And it really doesn't. And for me to sit there and be, you know, 10, 11 years old when the Giants win in 90, and then next time you're a grown man and I have a child and I'm a man now. And it's like all those years in between till you tasted that and you really got it. And now you fast forward all these years later, and I'm in my 40s now. And it's like, how many more years are you going to get a chance to see this? So I know these players right now tonight and then on the plane tomorrow and going to Minnesota, if we're thinking like this, bro, they're thinking to themselves, am I ever getting back here again? Is this ever going to happen for me again? And so for the veterans who never been here, I have such an amount of respect for, because I know that these guys are going to lay everything they have on the line this Sunday. And I'm grateful that we have a team that embodies that moment. And they're going to do everything that they can to get it. Because I think that as fans, if we were on the field, that's exactly how we would want to play. That's how we would want the team that we're rooting for to play. And I feel like the Giants get it. This team gets it.
Well, I'll give you an example, Chuck, about what you're just talking about. And this is why I love you to death, because we're so like-minded. But I saw on Twitter the other day, and I don't want to put their name out there, but this young Giants fan, he had listed his top 10 favorite Giant games.
Okay.
And Chuck, they were from like 2019 on. And I was like, this list is fucking brutal. Like, this is brutal. Like, this is your, you know, and I didn't want to put him on blast because he's a young fan.
Right.
And and it's so funny because, like you said, like a lot of, you know, we're a little older. And so we've able to experience the Giants, you know, in the late 80s and the 90s and the 2000s. And again, not all those years were great. You know, there's some memorable moments, but I just think about all the young fans too. Like right now, like the teenagers that are finally getting this opportunity to see the Giants play in a playoff game that, you know, maybe in 2016 they were too young.
Yeah.
You know, or they didn't realize what the hell was going on or what the magnitude. But it's like, I'm really excited for those fans as well this week, because this, you know, this game could be they could be talking about this game 15 years from now on some other social media platform about how it was one of their favorites.
And they probably will. I mean, whether or not they ever experience it again, because look at how we're talking about things that happened 30 years ago.
That's what I'm saying. So, like, we're like an older group, and to see all these young guys, and it's so funny because you hear all these, and that which was the next point that I was going to ask you about. You know, do you have, whether it's on Facebook or on YouTube, this younger audience that comes to you and says things where it's like, oh man, you can tell this guy's young and he just, you know, he hasn't went through enough. He hadn't seen enough Giants football, you know, just experienced enough yet.
I think I see that a lot. And I always try to see myself in those young kids, because I'm conscious of the fact that I truly believe that this last decade has been the worst of the Giants in my life.
Oh yeah.
And like we were just talking about, we went through a period in our life where maybe you were bad for 5 years and then something good happened. You even maybe reached the Super Bowl, but at least you made the playoffs. But right now, that little mirage in 2016, I mean, other than that, you're talking about an unbelievable decade of failure. So if you're one of these young kids that we're talking about, you are absolutely right. Like this Sunday for them, it's exciting for them too, because they've tasted some really bad years already. And for all of us, we've had 3 times of that. So it's like everybody's coming together out of the misery and then able to enjoy this together. It's awesome to see, man.
Yeah, no, it really, I mean, I just think about even the guys that are like 20 years old, for example, and they're consuming YouTube content, they're consuming my content, they're consuming anybody else that makes, and they're seeing your stuff. And it's just like, man, you take 10 years away from their life and you think about what they went through, like from 10 to 20, it's like, man, they saw some bad New York Giants football along the way.
You're talking about we went to Super Bowls. We won Super Bowls. Yeah. They're talking about maybe they've went to the playoffs and lost once. I mean, that's it.
Yeah. I mean, we have to, that's what I'm saying. Like there's a group of fans that are very vocal now that really didn't see a lot of Eli, like just being honest, like they saw a lot of more bad Eli, or I shouldn't even say that. I always felt like the organization kind of let him down, but they saw the very back 9 of Eli's career. They didn't get to experience that 07, 08 as much.
No, they saw the Eli that was the scapegoat, for the press and everybody else. They didn't see the guy that we're talking about. That's really eerily similar to Daniel Jones's rise by year 3, year 4. So yeah, I think there is an appreciation from our side, but for them, I do try to pull back sometimes because I know we have a lot of the same fan base. I think we have similar fans on both of our platforms, but I know we each have a lot of younger kids, and I can see it in their comments. To them, this is you either get 2 types. You either get the one that thinks we're going to go completely all the way, it's no problem, and the other one that's just like, why are we even here? There's no point, because we're not going anywhere.
Well, you're so right. I mean, it's so crazy how eerily similar Daniel and Eli are. I mean, it's even when you listen to them in a press conference, it's like, man, these guys are spot on the same kind of guy. I mean, and I actually think that Daniel has the tools to be even more, more talented than Eli. Just because the fact that he has the running ability.
And first of all, it's between Eli and LT as my favorite Giant of all time. My man cave is dedicated to mostly those 2. But I think that you're absolutely right. I think talent-wise, there's skill sets that Daniel Jones has that Eli never possessed, and he has skill sets that Daniel doesn't have. But I do think Daniel is more of a vocal leader. The way I see these guys respond to him, the way that they kind of look at him as a team leader. Yes, Eli was as well, but it's different. I mean, you can see it on the sidelines, and you hear these people talking about Saquon saying the first car in the parking lot is Daniel Jones. And, he's getting a hold of everybody at home and setting up things. So the kid gets it. And the organization recognizes that he is a complete package. He's a franchise quarterback.
Have you ever got a chance to meet LT?
No, I have not.
So I got to meet him about 1.5 years ago for the first time. And I'm like you. I mean, LT is really the guy who planted the seed for me as a Giants. I mean, I loved LT, and I've got a signed poster in my little man cave or whatever that's in a lot of behind my videos. And man, he has such an intimidating appearance even today.
I believe it.
He has this aura that's coming off of him, and when he was at the that last home game or getting the crowd going, I was just like, man, I love that.
I said when he came out and rang that bell, I already knew that there was going to be a stretcher. I didn't know it was going to be for Nick Foles, but I knew somebody was dying when this guy's coming out and beating the shit out of this bell.
I mean, it's so funny because I tell everybody, when I was young, I had a lot of friends, they loved Jordan. They loved, Ken Griffey Jr. They loved Bo Jackson. Right. But for me, LT was my guy.
Yeah.
That was the guy I was bringing to the party if I had the opportunity, so I loved LT. And so it's so funny. I love to hear how much, that you did as well.
Well, I think when you were a kid, you grew up, or LT was scary. The clips and the images that you're getting of LT, he's hurting people, and it was like, yeah, okay, this guy's fantastic. He's got a cool helmet, his visor's great, and
Yeah.
he's just hurting people. So as a kid, it's like, this guy's amazing.
Yeah, he's great. He actually when I met him at a signing thing that I went to, and what was funny about it was you could get him to write anything that you wanted to on the poster.
Nice.
And but he had one rule: he wouldn't put bad motherfucker on it. And I was like, and I thought to a second, I was like, why would anybody want him to say that? And then I was like, that is pretty cool. Like, it's like,
Yeah.
but I don't know why his rule was that he didn't want to do that. But I ended up having him put a bunch of crazy dogs on there.
Oh, that's sweet.
Because I just thought it was, it's a fun saying that I heard him say one time, during the old Giant days, and I just it's always stuck with me. And so, but that's really cool. I mean, do you ever think about using like old Giant clips, and meshing them with like the new stuff?
There's a lot of parallels, and honestly, it's funny you bring that up, because I have quite an interesting idea. I'd like to mesh both past and present if we make it all the way to the Super Bowl. But yeah, I mean, especially now, I think that guys like Kayvon Thibodeaux and what I love about this Giants team is that there's an edge to it. This is not just your hand the ball to the referee kind of Giants, which I love that, by the way. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but this team's got charisma. They got attitude. They have the edge. And I think that it's important for the other generation, the new generation, to kind of see that our history, there's been guys like LT in this organization. There's been guys that I think a lot of people still probably aren't even that familiar with. So for those of us like myself or you, or people that have a platform to be able to kind of fuse that out there for people, I think it's a good idea.
Did you like when what about when they brought out the classic jerseys?
Oh, those are my favorite. There's no question.
You loved them, didn't you?
Oh my God. To me, that's the Giants uniforms. I know that the NY and stuff is the classic, but for us, my generation, that's the Giants.
Yeah. I know. I want them to bring that shit back so bad.
I think they will. It's such a moneymaker though, dude. You know what I mean? Like, it's a no-brainer.
I mean, I heard someone say that, the Giants underline logo looks more of like a college logo. And I was like, I mean, maybe, I guess, the NY is more professional. It's kind of like the Yankees, if you will, with their hats and whatnot. But and when I saw them, they obviously brought out the Color Rush jerseys, in 2016. So when they first had those out, which they had the Color Rush helmet as well. I don't know about you, but it had been it was so frustrating to watch bad Giant teams wear that Color Rush uniform, because obviously it was old school. But didn't it feel like for the first time that they've brought back these throwback style uniforms, that finally a team for the Giants actually deserved to wear those uniforms?
I'm glad you said that, because that's exactly how I felt. I felt like this was a team that deserved it and embodied it. And I think they won both of those games in the legacy uniforms. But to me, okay, the NY, the helmet, that when I see that, I think of tradition. I think of New York. I think of old school.
What was this? I think the second time they wore them, they played Washington, and that was a tie.
Was it a tie? Yeah, you're right. I think it was.
I might be. I think it was. But go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Well, no, that's the. I think there's two different. If you look at that helmet, I think most people see tradition, but I think if you look at that Giants helmet, first thing that comes to my mind is toughness, defense. That 80s aura of the Giants. So I think that, and to me, the NY as well, I think that needs to stay with kind of like the Eli Manning era. I think that this is the Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley and Daboll era. There needs to be some kind of change, whether or not you want to adopt the legacy uniform as your current full-time uniform. I do think the Giants need to change something to kind of like represent the present.
So how far do you think we're going to make it this year, Chuck? What do you think?
I mean,
what are we thinking here?
The answer to that question, I mean, there's no. You beat Minnesota.
Let me rephrase this. Do you feel like expectations have already been met? Or I mean, do you think that they've already exceeded expectations by just making the playoffs?
Well, I think they've exceeded other people's expectations. I don't think they've exceeded like my expectations or maybe
Sure.
even yours.
Sure.
But I think the fact that this team came into the season, a lot of people predicting maybe anywhere between 5 to 7 wins, to be standing here as a 9-win / really 10-win, team in the playoffs, year one of what was supposed to be a rebuild. Look, I mean, the Giants, we know if you're going to win playoff football in January, you have to have a good defense and you have to be able to run the ball, and you can't turn the ball over. These are 3 things the Giants have done pretty extraordinarily well this year. And in the Minnesota game, the turnovers what kind of cost us that game. But if this team plays to their identity, I don't know. And we talked about earlier the flaws in these other teams, and San Francisco, I think, is the best team in this conference. But they at the end of the day, you can put lipstick all you want on a rookie quarterback, but it's still a rookie quarterback. And at some point, that's going to come home to roost. Whether or not that cost them the game, I don't know. But I feel like everybody has a weakness. And this Giants team getting healthy at the right time, they have the ability to play with any of these teams. I don't want to get ahead of myself because we're on the eve of the Minnesota game. But if I had to say right now, I think that we're going to be pleasantly surprising some people. And I think we're going to go further than what anybody thinks.
Well, I say that to you, Chuck, because like I said, you're like my brother from another big blue mother.
Absolutely, man.
And I get so reeled in situations like this, and I have in the past with other Giant teams that made the playoffs, where it's like I see a pathway. I see that this. I truly believe that this can happen. If the dominoes fall, this and this, I feel like this is a possibility. But then I always want somebody to bring me back down a little bit to ground zero and be like, hey, look, they made it this far. It's been a great season. If they beat Minnesota, it's like that's even better. But it's what I'm saying, where it's almost like you need someone to remind you, like, look, you were just picking top 5 in the draft a year ago.
Right. Well, let me just say this, man. I love you too, brother, and I don't expect me to ever bring you back down to reality, because
you're gonna leave me up here
because I'm right there with you, man. My expectation, I don't live in reality at all, so I can't bring you back down. But no, I think it's because my expectations are to win this entire thing, and I think that once you're in it, it just takes one win, dude. It takes one game.
So that's so true. It's like you just build yourself up. But don't you, there's a part of me, I will say, as from a fan perspective, where it's like, no matter what happens, it's so great for this team and guys like Daniel, guys like Saquon, guys like Kayvon, right? To get just get this playoff experience.
Yeah.
Get the playoff, get a game in there, get however many games we can take this thing. And get the experience inside of you so that, start climbing that ladder again. Because, man, Chuck, as you know, from 2011 on, we fell off that ladder so fucking hard. Mm-hmm. And we looked like we were climbing back again. And then the ladder got pulled out from underneath us in 2016. And we haven't even got off the first rung these last few years. And so to say, okay, we've dusted ourselves off. We've got the ladder set back up. We're climbing it again here. And it's almost like if you let these guys get some playoff experience, and then next year, man, have the expectations of everything. Like nobody can take,
Yes.
So there's a part of me that's like, look, let's do this thing. Let's go all the way. Then there's a part of me that's like, man, let's just be happy these guys are getting this experience that they desperately need. And let's see what happens, and see how, see if this can't be something that we do for the next 5 straight years.
Well, so I know that the cliche thing is to not say that you're not just happy to be here. And I know the Giants have said that through their own way. And I say that publicly as well. And I feel that way. But I'm also there with you as well, where I feel like this team, if they win this game Sunday, I truly believe that they can catch something and they could beat anybody. They could get hot. Sure. They could beat anybody. At the same time, you can't lose if you're the New York Giants, because like everything you just laid out, how do you lose if you take a team that was supposed to be shit, that was supposed to be garbage, and you have them going and maybe they win a playoff game, maybe they get bounced out in the second round, but then they discover all of this this heart and this talent that they have around them. And then they see which holes they actually don't need to fill. Maybe they have guys that now, Hodgins and Cordell Flott, these other guys that they're starting to see that are young, that are starting to come up. Maybe you don't need to go spend time and energy and draft picks on this other position. So you gain a lot. Plus you gain this wisdom and perspective that, hey, we can make the playoffs every single year and we can go on a run.
Well, that's the biggest thing that I want. It's like, I just want the Giants to continue to make the playoffs going forward. And look, I know that it's not all, I know the rest of my life being a Giants fan, I know that there's going to be some years that I'm just going to have to accept the fact that we're not going to be in the playoffs. Things are going to happen, right? But I want this team and this core unit of these guys to be, that 07, 08, it was not only just a great team, but it gave us the ability to keep going to where we were able to get multiple Super Bowls out of that deal.
That's how we got to 2011.
Yeah. I mean, that was part of it. I mean, and so that's what I want out of this unit here is like, hey, you guys do what you got to do. Take this thing as far as you can take it until the wheels fall off. But let's build something so strong here that without a shadow of a doubt, we're going to be back in the dance a year from now.
Yeah,
because this time last year, I was miserable from a fan perspective. I mean,
the outlook of the Giants going forward.
I mean, it felt like we had hit rock bottom. And it's so funny because you said this earlier, where it was like, you remember the 90s, and I remember the 90s as well, and Dave Brown and all this and that, and Danny Cannell and Kent Graham, and quarterback after quarterback, and then. But it never felt as bad as it did the last couple of years, especially a year ago.
No.
And it really did feel at this time last year, we had hit rock fucking bottom. And now fast forward 12 months later even tonight, it's like, this is amazing that on Sunday afternoon, the whole world is going to be watching our favorite team. And it's just like, it's just great that they're back in that spotlight. Great, that they're there.
And underdogs again, which is great.
Yeah, they're underdogs. It's it's our way.
Get there, dude, we're gonna have to be road warriors again. So I like the fact that, and I will admit this, last year did break me. So I'm somewhere between somewhere along the line last year, probably Mike Glennon's neck. I don't know where it happened, but there was a point where it was like all hope was lost. And you could see that this team didn't really give a shit. They had checked out last year. And, and I will say the moment that the Ford Raptor pulled up in front of Giants headquarters, I truly believe that at that point, there was this resurgence in my soul. And it felt like, and just for me as a fan and a content creator and what I do here, this has been by far the best year I've ever had. I've been doing this for 11 years. I don't know about you. I'm sure you feel similar. It's been there. It's injected something back into me where maybe even last year or the year before, I thought to myself, what do I do here? I love doing this. Unfortunately, I'm at the mercy of this team that's just awful. And if they're not good, people are checked out. I don't even exist. So you start to question, how long can I really do this? And this has really reminded me all season just how fun this is. And when you capture lightning in a bottle, I've said this to you before, but I really feel like I've been trying to chase that feeling down from 2011. And to get here right now at the doorstep of it, I wouldn't change anything that's happened those last few years, dude. None of it.
Well, it's funny because you asked like favorite year. And I think it's so funny because when I started making content in 2007, I was a little bit late to the kickoff of the season. So I started a month after the season started. So I came in like week 5 of that year and was making content and putting it out. And it's crazy because I had no idea we were going to win the Super Bowl that year. I didn't have any feeling. I just wanted to support Eli because after the first few games, that season, we got crushed the first 2. We gave up 90 points on our defense had, and it looked like one of them seasons again. And Eli was getting heat, and I was like, I got to get on there and support my boy. And it was such a magical year. It ended up being a magical year, and it was all displayed on YouTube for myself and anybody that watched. But hell, I didn't even know what the hell I was doing on you. You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't know I didn't know what the hell I was doing for content.
I discovered this kid with this southern accent. He had his hat on backwards. He had the sunglasses on and the video gaming headset, and he's talking Giants football. I thought,
you know, what's funny is like I wouldn't be caught dead with my hat backwards anymore now. And I used to make content with that with my sunglasses on because I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I was trying to create a fun image and have a good time. And now I wouldn't turn my hat backwards for nobody. And so
but for the other fans though, like you became somebody, a target and a villain for them to kind of like shit on and go after. But I think for those fans, by the way, who are listening to this and who haven't been here long, the TTC, if there's ever somebody needs to make a documentary on the TTC around that time up until like the mid 2000s, because that was an incredible era on YouTube.
Yeah, it really was. I've always said that, Chuck. There are so many guys now that are on YouTube really missed out on a fun year. I've tried a few years. I tried to get I've tried to recreate that with Mark Holmes and Philly 500 and things like that. And those guys they'll go so far with me. Not everybody's going to want to be into trash talking and putting their neck out there like that. And which I get that. But there was the first few years because that was even in 07 that, YouTube was still in its infancy.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, like it was still a young product that not a lot of people were subscribing to, or even, big companies hadn't bought into it. Right. I mean, now we're in this influence era.
No, not at all.
And everybody makes content and anything gets put out there. Hell, they're going to be showing games at some point, all over YouTube. And so it's like, it was such an authentic time period. And I think that's what gets missed. That's what's missed out in today's YouTube is what's really authentic. I get it. People come on YouTube and want to make some cash and things like that. But, that's why I still love your content, because it feels authentic to me. It feels real. And, and so it's just like, man, it's great. I'm going to, if you guys have a question for Chuck, put it in the comment section. I'll pull some of them up, and feel free to ask him. Feel free to ask if you got any questions for him, and we can talk about some of those things. So I'll open that up to you guys, and we'll do that. But I still love to see your content, Chuck. I think you make absolute. I actually in this for those that don't know who Chuck is. I put a link to his. All you got to do is hit the at Mr. ChuckKnoxx tag there that I've got in the headline of the video. You will not be disappointed at all. He'll get you ready to run through a brick wall. Have you always had that talent, Chuck, of just hyping things up, or is it just something the Giants make you feel?
I think it really just comes from the Giants. I mean, I dedicate my life to this team. I bought a house 2 years ago, and the whole point of me having this house was honestly this basement so that I could convert it into this Giants man cave. And so everything
did not.
I really did. I really did.
Chuck, that's really why I bought my house.
No.
Yeah, I found this house, and it was my house was in bad shape. It was not like, and unfortunately for myself, I know how to do some remodeling work. So I put the money. Well, I come up on this studio room that there was a guy that was living here. He had a Christian band and he had a studio.
Nice.
And his studio is what my man cave is. And so like it had tile floors and on the walls, it has these little outlets. You can plug in guitars and microphones and shit like that. Like I don't even use it to its full potential. And I said, shit, man, this would be a great YouTube /man cave room. And here you are saying this shit to me right now. So
no, I could have bought a house for tremendously cheaper, and it didn't have like the setup that I wanted. And then first of all, just like you, and I know you put work in there, but like I had to envision everything. I would take pictures of the walls, and I'd go to Photoshop, and I'd start like looking at how I wanted it, and then I had to put all the work in. But no shit to you, man. That's incredible that you're making big time decisions based on the Giants. I'm not the only dumbass.
I told my wife, I said, this would be a great YouTube room, don't you think? It's like, God, it's so funny. It's so funny you said that. I'll bring up. Here's a couple questions. So Give2 says, would you trade for DK in the offseason? I'm assuming he means DK Metcalf. So what about the and then this next? I'll tie this one together with this. Do we address the receiving problem off season through the draft, free agent, or trade? So, what do you think about that, Chuck?
Well, I think the DK thing is would take a lot for the Giants, I think, to pull that off. I don't think we have the capital. The interesting thing about the trade scenario, the Giants are still in a rebuilding process. I can't see Joe using a lot of that capital to make trades or draft day trades, but I think the Giants have to target wide receiver. At the point where we're going to be picking now, later in the draft, I still think there's a lot of talent there. I think you go skill position early. And then, as far as free agency go, there's some big names out there. The Odell thing's still going to linger over until he goes somewhere. So absolutely the Giants need to bring in some help. Whether it comes from a trade, free agency, the draft, I'm not sure. But I think that's the number one priority.
I don't love the idea of the number one receiver next year being a rookie, but I don't know with all that they have to do with Daniel, Saquon, and sign guys. I don't know how they trade for a big name receiver with a contract. You know what I mean? Like I know they got a lot of money, but that's going to get ate up pretty fast.
No, and then you don't want to start trading your draft picks, because then there goes your rebuilding capital.
You're going to have to pay Dexter Lawrence.
Oh, and that's the problem about success, is that everything's kind of coming home to roost. You have all these critical pieces that are all coming up to be paid at the same time. So we got our work cut out for us, and right now it's like we want to dream big and see if we can get some of these bigger guys. But I trust Joe. We're in good hands.
When are you going to drop your next hype video?
Well, that's going to come tonight. I'll go ahead and promote that. YouTube, Mr. ChuckKnoxx. We're going to have probably a midnight-ish if you're up late tonight, but it'll be out there tomorrow, and I'll be promoting it everywhere. And I will say this, for those who ask me questions sometimes about the hype video, I will say once in a while when I make hype videos, I actually get hyped. Like I play it back, and then I'm playing it back like, this motherfucker is spitting. Like, who is this guy? And this week, I'll say I felt it this week, and I think that fans, if my job is to get you ready for the playoffs, I think and hope that I've done that.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what making content's all about. That you feel some kind of way. How did Chuck feel about the mainstream media get a hold of OBJ video and response being clipped on the Carton show? You and I kind of talked about this off air here.
Well, so the OBJ video, I think he's talking about. So OBJ
was the response what he put like on social media, like that he hadn't been in trouble like all year long.
Yeah, so this whole thing started going back to OBJ when the Giants were recruiting him. I put out a video kind of recruiting OBJ, quick video, and it blew up and it trended everywhere. And the mainstream media picked it up. And they picked it up because OBJ directly responds to me in the video. And he's openly talking about how exactly how I feel, bro. I've always wanted to win a championship.
Yep, I do remember that. Yep.
Yeah. So that was cool and everything. And it started to spark some speculation about OBJ in New York. And all of a sudden I was like a part of that. But going back to that video real quickly, the one that we're talking about earlier, the video that came out of the officer, the body camera footage.
Mm-hmm.
So my stance on OBJ, I'm still all for bringing him in there. I think you try to kick the tires on that if the money's worth it. But I was not happy. I think the video started out, you see kind of OBJ's side of the story. It seemed like these guys were kind of like making something out of nothing. But then his response to kind of like going into insults and attacking the passengers on the plane verbally, that was too much. It's not a good look. If you're OBJ or if you're somebody that's just a normal guy that doesn't have all the fame, you're still in control over what you say to people. So that was disappointing. As far as the Carton show goes, I should have known that when I upload these clips of me going nuts watching the games, I never believe in my mind that somebody's going to like take that or it's going to go viral. Yeah. I just feel the reason I upload it is because I feel that other Giants fans are going to be like, and they tell me that's exactly how I responded. That's exactly how I reacted. So that's why I do it. And then to have all of a sudden somebody on national television playing you at your worst moment, it's surreal because you're like, well, finally made it on TV and there I am. I'm a fucking maniac with a scarf on, which was unfortunate for my lucky scarf, but it didn't turn out. But it's been cool. You know, I got a lot of Vikings fans that hate my guts, and that's great.
Well, it's funny you say that because I kind of have the experience with the Devontae. I have a viral clip of me being upset that the Eagles jumped in front of us for Devontae. And so I'll share my experience with you is like, you know, I'm making, you know, it's draft night. I'm making content that, you know, look, I felt some kind of way, but at the same time, it's like, I want people to enjoy what they're watching, and I want to have have a good put out a good product that gives them a good laugh. You know, it's like, yeah, I'm upset because I think Devontae Smith is going to be a good receiver, and I really liked him, and I thought he would look good in a Giants uniform and this and that. So it's like I do this, and then I don't think nothing of it. You know, I go to bed. You know, but I wake up the next morning. I got tons of text messages from friends. And they're like, dude, do you know you're on Barstool right now? And I'm like, what? What are you talking about? What do you mean I'm on Bar? And so it's like, there's literally an article been written about that moment. And there's the clip. And then you're like, and then Darius Slay, big play Slay for the Eagles. He responded to it on Twitter, laughing at it. And I'm sitting there thinking like, I didn't want all this, this is not what I wanted. Fuck, this is like, it's got 1 million views, and Erod, which is an Eagles fan, he's the one that, edited it down and made it. But I was just like, but I shared that experience with you where it's just like, you're just making content, you put your raw emotion out there, and next morning you're like, what the fuck's going on?
You don't even think like, and it's funny because people say in the comments and they're like, oh, he's acting. It's like, I mean, that's the funny thing to me. It's like, I couldn't even act like that. That is a maniac. When I watch that shit back, I'm like, I don't even know who that is. Like that is
I watch my clip and I'm like, I don't even know who the hell this person is talking right now. Like the Giants just, they got, it's like you get high on drugs or something and they do something to you and you're like, holy shit, what do I do now? You know what I'm saying? So it's like, yeah, I mean, it's just crazy. And so, I have a similar experience to you. This person wrote, "Oh, we're pulling our dick out." I wanted to share that with you. It cracks me up every time. Isn't it fun when you make something that you say something that it resonates with people?
Well, this is something again going back to. I do not recognize me when I watch the games because. There I am. And sometimes, it's like, okay, this is a football game. This is a very aggressive battle here. And next thing I know, I'm talking about dicks being out. I have no control. But, you say the things out there. You never know if it's going to catch. You never know if it's going to be somebody that's like, yeah, I'm going to say that now and I'm going to run with it.
Yeah. I think we sort of answered this. Would OBJ would OBJ fit with this Giants team, different organization than he left?
Yeah, I do think that's a good question. I think that I think OBJ did not fit with the former regime of the Giants. I do think he fits more in line with this one. I do think there's some hesitation of, do you bring in somebody that has some of the I guess baggage in a sense that OBJ has around him? Do you bring that in? Do you shake things up? I think that's something to be concerned about. But ultimately, talent is talent, and I think the organization recognizes his talent.
Yeah, well, he's going to sign with somebody, and who that
I don't price. I mean, I think he's pushing himself out of the bidding. His asking price was kind of insane.
Well, I'll say this, Chuck, as far as the video goes, and look, I'm a trash talker at heart, but I've always, even dating back to 07, 08, I would never trash talk girls on here. Like I never would. If I saw like a female, it's not that I didn't respect their opinion or respect them, but I never did that because I just always thought, there's some people you just don't fuck with,
right?
You don't mess with, like old guys. And so that's the disappointing thing about what OBJ did to me, or watching the video, is like, did the guy probably, the guy was annoyed. He didn't want to get the hell off the plane. He was being asked to get off the planes because this guy's being a dick about things. OBJ was. And I'm not saying what they did to OBJ was fair, because I guess the way from a working standpoint, they had felt like, well, he's not abiding to our orders now. What makes us think he's going to do it with 30,000 feet in the air? And then we've
Right.
got to fly all the way from LA or from Miami to LA. I mean, how bad is this going to get? And so I just think they just wanted that problem off the plane. And it's probably not fair to OBJ. You know, he probably had a great time in Miami. Who doesn't, you know? And I just felt like, why are you gonna trash talk that old man?
Well, it's disappointing.
You know what I'm saying? Like pick on someone your own size kind of deal.
I just live my life this way. I'm responsible for my own actions. And I feel like, there's things in life, whether it's people on the internet or in real life, people say things that are disrespectful to you. They say things that make you want to react a certain way. But I think if you're in control of your emotions and you're a decent person, I think you kind of know when and that's warranted and when it's not. And I don't think it was warranted.
No, I don't think it was warranted. Apparently the Dix thing was a great thing.
It is. It's a running theme, unfortunately, in these videos.
Roadkill asks Pizzle and Chuck, is this the first collaboration YouTube? No, we did one, and Chuck dated it 2019.
2019, November
2019. We had a great discussion then. I've been wanting to get Chuck back on the channel, but man, there's just been so many bad moments the last couple years that it's like you can't really get hyped for a lot of things. And I knew that coming into this playoffs, I was like, man, if there's one guy I have to go get bring to the channel and chat with, it was Chuck. I had to go get Chuck.
And I get asked all the time for people to, and I feel bad because maybe some of them are listening to this, but I get asked to appear on people's shows like all the time. And it's nothing against them. I listen to a lot of these people's shows. They send me the links, and there's so many great Giants content creators out there, but very busy. And for me, for somebody, I just feel that has had laid the groundwork for people like me on YouTube. So if you come asking and you come calling, I'm always going to try and make an appearance.
Chuck, that is, you literally just said I'm telling you, man, we are damn near brothers because
we're both from the South. There's something could have happened there. Man.
You literally just said one of the things that's all that I've ever wanted was just appreciated for the groundwork that was done beforehand, because again, YouTube is so different now than it was then. And it's like nobody was out here. It's like, I think, and this is a great thing. This is a great thing, what I'm about to say. You can come onto YouTube in 2023 and there's an audience waiting for you. If you have good quality content and there's an audience here that will take you in almost immediately.
Right.
That wasn't the case back then. You had to pull guys from other sites to come actually see your stuff. I remember putting my YouTube channel and videos on the Giants message board and asking people to come over and watch stuff like that. And again, I didn't bring over every Giants fan from YouTube. That's not what I mean. But the guys that come before you that put the groundwork down to give you a safe landing spot, I feel like you owe some respect to those people.
You do. I to this day, I am subscribed to 3 original Giant content creators, and you and Mythos and Giants Pride, who I don't know what happened to him years and years ago.
I think he's still alive and kicking.
Okay.
But I don't know why he stopped making content.
He stopped right in the middle of like all of that. But you're absolutely right. First of all, I was on the Giants board back then when it was still existed over at the Pro Boards, wherever that was, there, Giants.com.
Yeah.
But YouTube was a drastically different era back then. So, and I do believe you have to pay the way for people that kind of lay that foundation out. And look, I mean, you are who you are because people love to hate you a lot. Giants fans alike too. So it's only because that it's entertaining. If you weren't entertaining, they wouldn't give a shit, dude.
Well, it's funny that you say that, Chuck, because when I was a kid, in my own head, I saw the TV, I saw the game, I saw the fans in the stands at Giants Stadium, and I saw their energy, I saw their attitude, and I said and that's what, in my opinion, what a Giants fan was. Now, I've been to MetLife, and I don't know if the way the stadium is built or what it is about this. It just doesn't have the same energy that Giant Stadium did. I don't know if there's a construction issue there. I don't know if the fan today is just different. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but
I don't think any new stadium has that energy, but you're absolutely right.
well, I mean, it's just like you want, and this is why I love your videos because you're like, get the fuck up,
Mhm.
and I'm like, I feel that way too. It's like, hey guys, like it's third down, like let's get the fuck up, let's get some
Yeah.
energy and let's help our defense. And you even hear in interviews where it's like even the coaching staff or players is saying, hey, let's get loud this weekend, like help us. And I just believe that shouldn't even have to be said, Chuck.
No, it shouldn't.
It shouldn't have to be. Now, that doesn't mean you go and be an asshole to other opposing fans or whatever this and that. It just means you just root your ass off and just get up, and it shouldn't have to be said. But today's world, it has to be said. And I don't know. And again, I don't know if it has something to do with the stadium. I don't know. But it's like, why is that an issue today? And at the same time, I am who I am as a fan because of what I saw in the past.
Yeah, I think that shows for fans that are like us that's where the past meets the present.
Yeah, and that's so it's like when I'm putting that energy out there, I'm just putting out there what raised me.
But don't you think? Let me ask you this about this year. Don't you feel like the Giants fans have been very impressive? I feel like even the away games, the Giants fans have made their presence felt, and I think they've been a difference in some of these home games.
Well, when I went to Nashville, I was very excited to. I'll say this: I went downtown Nashville the night before, and only reason I went down there was because I just wanted to hang out with other Giant fans. I just wanted to meet some random Giant fans, talk Giants. If I saw a guy with a Daniel Jones jersey, I went and slapped high fives with him and had talked to him, whatever. Like I just wanted to hang out with other Giant fans. And at the game, or I was going to say that night, it was awesome to see him. And then it was awesome to see at the game the energy of other Giant fans and to see them to come out. And again, you got to think, we just came off of some embarrassing games the season before, rock bottom. And here you have a new regime, a new general manager, a new coaching staff, new all over the place, right? A lot of new stuff. Obviously, Daniel's still there. Saquon, some parts are still remain, but there was a lot of new. And so you're thinking about the first game back, and you're like, well, what are they going to come? Are they going to show up? And to see them show up and to see the excitement was like, shit, yeah, they still here. Like they're still love. They're still feeling here. And I will agree with you. It's like, I think that Giant fans have showed up at a lot of games and supported them in a great way. I mean,
the two Legacy Day games, I think the crowd was fantastic. But that Colts clinch game that we had just two weeks ago, it was phenomenal. I mean, the standing ovation to Daniel Jones and the chants of his name and MVP. And you see this from Coach Dabbs and even Wink. Others have congratulated and gave him credit to this fan base all year long. And just for me, I'm not used to this because these last few years you're watching on TV and later in the season, you start seeing more Eagles fans, in the stadium late in the season. And even every opposing team just seems to be able to buy up all these tickets because Giants fans sell them. But that wasn't the case this year. And it was great to see.
Well, that's why I love you, Chuck, because you're like, you have Giants pride in you. And so it's great to. I think there needs to be more guys out there. Somebody asked, and I don't know if you want to answer this. Where are you from originally, Chuck?
So
go ahead.
You go ahead. You go ahead.
I was going to tell Dead Air that I'm originally from Tennessee, and I don't know about Chuck, but when I was a kid, we had no team in this state at all. Titans were not here. They were in Houston. And so for me, that Giants team, those late 80 teams for the Giants really planted a seed where it's like, man, I really like this team. This is a fun, and it's crazy about me. And I don't know about you, Chuck, but I still can't believe that I stuck it out as long as I did, because I don't know what it was. They grabbed me and they never let go, just refused to let go.
Well, I think it's part of like your personality. It's ingrained in people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, as you say, you turn on the TV and like as a kid, you identify with those fans. And for me, it was the fans, it was the helmet, it was the defensive blue collar. I'm more of a blue collar guy raised in a blue collar family.
Sure,
And it was just
sure.
it identified with this toughness. And you could see it. And the fans, like these fans are like working class. They're having a few beers, but they're like unlike Eagles fans, they're not out there, committing assault.
That is Eagle fans. They are yeah, they're rough, man. They're rough. I was fortunate enough in 2016 to go to the link, and they're not kind at all. But I don't know about you, Chuck. I don't want anybody throwing anything on me. I don't want nobody touching me or anything like that. But I can handle some heat being thrown at me through words. I've always been.
Oh, I love that.
Okay.
When it gets physical or anything like that, it gets kind of, to me, it's stupid, and I'm one of these people that, and I know maybe not a lot of people are like this, but I'm not really offended by anything.
Yeah,
And
I'm not either.
no, and that just because I feel that way, that doesn't mean I go out and try to offend people. I'm just saying that there's the threshold for things that you're going to say to me. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, you have to have a good sense of humor to have yourself be on national television and you're acting like a fucking maniac, at your worst of the worst moment, and you're able to laugh at it. So yeah, I think that I don't take myself too seriously, but I'm not out there to try and hurt people or hurt their feelings unless they earned it.
I am curious, like, so when you have your content come out and it's viral or it's out there, is that something that really makes you happy, or is it just is YouTube just a place that you just feel like you just need to go and just express yourself, and if it happens, like it's just whatever at that point? Like, is it one of them things where it's you do hope that it gets, so like the Giants the other day, they kind of, Strahan has the he has his, and look, it was a great hype, and they're saying it's our way, which I don't know how you feel about that. Like, if you like that slogan, I know they had the all in slogan at one time. Do you like?
I think we had to adopt something new. All in was taken, but I mean, our way. I mean, I'll take it if that's what we're running. It's certainly not what I would have chosen. But
you think it was like tied to like Sinatra, like my way? I did it my, think it has something to do with that? Maybe.
I think it's more so of, look, I mean, we did an unconventional thing here. We're in the middle of a rebuild process and we're competing for a title. We kind of, we did it our way. We have a lot of personality. We do things kind of unconventional. We don't even pass the ball as much as some of these other teams. But I think that it's whatever the fans, they respect that Strahan video pretty positively. So it has an all-in kind of feel and a vibe to it. So I'm for it.
So do you watch that and you're like, and I thought it was good.
Yeah.
I don't think it gave me chills. I thought it was good, but I was, I was like, man, I think my boy Chuck's going to blow that out. Not that you're competing, but you know what I'm saying? It's like, I think my boy Chuck's going to kill that.
My reaction, how I said earlier, when I feel an emotion, when I get hyped off my own work, and then I know I've done something really special, it takes a little bit more other people to get me in that mode, just because I have a high threshold of how I get hyped.
Sure.
So yeah, I mean, it was nice. It was a really, it was well done. I will say this about the Giants, and I guess I'll say this here. I've hinted around at this in comments. I've never talked about this on my own podcast or anything else, but a lot of times people they want to compare what the Giants put out compared to, let's say, my hype videos. And I appreciate that. And I love that because it kind of gets the Giants to notice me. But I want people to understand that this last year 2022 started for me professionally in February or so. I will tell you the story. One day I'm sitting here and I get an email and it says it's a direct message from the Giants. I shit my pants.
Really?
Like the Giants, I'm sitting there, I'm thinking this is not real. And it was a representative of the Giants. Wanted to know, they'd like to talk to me, blah, blah, blah. And at first, honestly, I didn't think it was real. And then they wanted my email. So then I sent the email, I get an email back, and then I see the official email come up, and it's the Giants, it's for real. So I'm like, oh shit, this is what's happening here. So long story short, I found myself being interviewed for the Giants. And the Giants, I've not told this story. A lot of people don't know this, but the Giants approached me for they wanted to bring me into their department, to their video department. Wanted to basically see if both parties were mutually interested. And really, I was, first of all, I was blown away. I think I probably blew the interview because I was just like an excited fan, dude. Like I couldn't even contain myself. I'm sitting there talking about how, and they're saying to me like, we would like you to work possibly like, and they were bringing up the Eli Inning show and stuff like that. And they're like talking about ideas and writing and stuff for this. And I'm thinking to myself, well, oh my God, like I'm going from YouTube and you're telling me all of a sudden I'm going to be this kind of, I just told him like I would probably be like a girl if I met Eli Manning, and I would melt down like a little child. And I'm like a fan. I can't help myself. But ultimately what they wanted from me was not really what I was interested in, but the fact that they just kind of wanted to take somebody like me and put me into their team and be like a, part of the wheel, part of the system. Whereas I was flat out like, here's what I really want to do. This is really all I'm interested in to do. And it wasn't meant to be. But the Giants did show interest. They did reach out. So for all those fans out there that always bring up the Giants should hire me or they should do that, they tried.
Well, Chuck, I don't doubt that for 1 minute because I have definitely believed. I don't know how long. I wouldn't say that this has always been the case, like going back to like 07, 08. I don't believe that. I don't know when it may have started, but I've always believed that they are watching the content.
Yeah,
not necessarily. I'm not saying my content or anybody's in particular, but I do feel like content is being watched and consumed from YouTube, whether it's players or people that are, part of the social media department or Giants, whatever. I feel like content is actually being consumed somewhere up there.
Well, I can confirm to you that is 100% true. They are very vigilant of a lot of the different types of Giant content on YouTube, and they changed a lot of their programming. They have a vision that I think is inspired by a lot of the stuff that they see. And, I do believe that there are some people that are in that organization. I'll just put it that way, that are fans of my work. I know that. And I feel like I would never try and like soil the Giants. I wouldn't want the Giants to feel like, oh shit, this guy's out here. He doesn't represent us well. He swears, he says, Get your dicks out, stuff like that. So I don't try to pretend that like the Giants are anywhere near like putting out similar content or anything like that. I think that they do what they do. It's a family thing. I do what I do. I have no interest in being like trying to fit that into their mold. So whatever they want to do, I think it's safe, it's PG stuff. And if it gets people hyped up, so be it. Our content's still going to be here. My stuff's still here. Yours is still there. So everybody's got their own little island.
Well, it's just, I've seen stuff where it's like, where'd they get that at? I mean, if they start blowing a whistle, then I'm going to be like, you got that. But it's like, you see stuff and it's look, and here's the thing too. It's like, if they are watching, you just, it's like you're happy to show them your fanhood, and you're that, hey guys, this is what you mean to us.
Mm-hmm.
We're excited for you guys. So like playoffs is like, we're excited. And so we're going to put this content out in your video. I know I think it was Roll, wasn't it? Wasn't it Roll who tweeted your stuff? You've had some Giant players who have put your stuff out on social media.
Every couple of years, I get a few players that are kind of like the ChuckKnoxx advocates in the locker room, and Antrell and Steve Weatherford were like the first ones. There was, I remember Steve was DMing me at a Metallica concert. He had just seen like the hype video I had put out, and it's like, holy shit, this is weird. But there's always those. I like these guys like Hottie on defense and of course Thibodeaux, these guys that have these personalities, and I think that they're the guys I identify with. So I think there's always going to be guys in the locker room that are kind of like looking for those voices out there that are similar to theirs. And I can confirm, I know that these guys watch this stuff, and I know that they see it, and Hey, look, man, if something that you or I do on YouTube in some small way helps I mean, Antro Roll was like, we want to get you in the locker room and we want you to fire up the team. And I'm thinking, if you guys need me, then we're fucked here. Like, you guys shouldn't need me at all. I'm for the fans. I'm not for you guys.
What's funny you say Jihadi Ward, because like I was pretty close to the bench of the Giants at the Titans game. And he was, and of course, at the time, Kayvon wasn't playing because he got hurt in the preseason.
Yeah.
So he was playing a lot, and he was Chuck, I kid you not, he was an absolute animal in the fucking on the sidelines, like like just screaming in people's face, everybody. Not like in a cancer way, but just in a like get the fuck up kind of way.
Yeah.
And I even thought about you for a moment there. I was like, man, this is a ChuckKnoxx kind of guy right here.
He's one of my
and
guys.
I knew he played for the Ravens before the Giants, and I think he had some time. He might have had some time with the Raiders, but
yeah,
I was, so I didn't know. I knew a little of him, but I didn't know how he would be as a Giant. But then as soon as I saw it, I said, shit, this is my kind of guy.
Yeah, like he's one of us.
Yeah, he's like one of me. And so what's funny about him is, and I don't know if you know this, but there was a moment where there was a lot of Giant content creators that he went on Twitter and blocked.
No, I didn't see that.
They make content on YouTube, and he blocked a lot of them.
Wow.
And so I was like, holy shit, I hope he didn't block me. So then I went and looked, and he didn't block me. And I was like, thank God he didn't block me. But, because I was like, that's my guy, him and I relate, and so that made me think like, man, this dude's watching. Like he's watching. He knows if he's blocking so-and-so, because a lot of the guys that make content on YouTube, they're not necessarily going to Twitter and tagging people. Like they're not just, so it's, you have to seek those kind of guys out. And so when I saw that, I was like, man, there are some dudes that are watching. Like they're not going to put themselves out there, because they're not going to, they're not going to just expose themselves, like, because they don't want YouTube to bother them, or just any content creator to bother them. Like they're a professional athlete, they're for a professional organization. So they're not just going to put themselves out there like that. But, to not think that they don't consume some of the content would be naive, I feel like.
Oh, I mean, and that's the other thing. I think guys don't want like some guy on YouTube to be their voice for them. I think that's probably why they don't go out and seek that out as well. But like for me, once in a while, I'll tag certain Giants players if it's related to something in the video. But for the most part, 90% of the time, my whole thing is to focus. This whole thing is for the fans. It's to get the fans to believe in this coming Sunday as much as I do.
Guys, if you got any last minute questions, we're getting ready to wrap this thing up. So if you got any questions, send them away. I thought this one was interesting here, Chuck. How do you feel about bringing Sterling Shepard back next year? Omega asked. Just because I know he's got that, he's one of those players that's got a dog in him. And I could see him being kind of a ChuckKnoxx kind of guy.
He is a ChuckKnoxx guy. He is. I've loved Sterling from the very beginning. It's unfortunate that he's kind of a guy that plays so hard and so aggressive and reckless that he kind of always is prone to these injuries. But first of all, if you can afford it somehow, whether it's league minimum, whatever it is, Sterling Shepard has to be a Giant for life. And he has to be in that locker room. He's a team leader. You see the way he supports his guys. He's out there going nuts, taking his shirt off, dancing. This guy's a maniac. They got to find a way, hopefully, to keep him on the field. But yes, I would love to see him back on the field first and foremost. But if not, the guy's got to have some kind of role in the organization.
It's just so unfortunate that he can't stay healthy. Because, I mean, he even looked at the start of the year, Chuck, that like, man, he's going to have a nice year.
Oh, I know. It was that going down in that Dallas game. It was such a bummer because every year I'm always like, oh, this is the year Sterling's going to really just, because he's so reliable and he's so underappreciated sometimes. I feel like from Giants fans, because unfortunately he is on the injury reserve so much.
Yeah, I think he is one of the interesting cases this offseason for the Giants on what they will do.
Yeah.
Do you care? I forgot to ask you about Daniel. Do you care about the contract, or is there any? I mean, obviously, I think you wanted to get him as cheap as possible, but do you have any feelings towards that at all?
Well, I don't. I just feel that Joe and the front office, I trust him so much that I don't feel that they will do anything that's not in the best, favor of Giants and the organization. So it feels great to have complete confidence in the front office for the first time in a long time. I know we talked about Gettleman a couple times, but Dave, it was like you'd hit a couple, then you'd miss 4 or 5 in a row, and the foundation that we have right now is built from Dave Gettleman. We have to be honest with ourselves, regardless of how we feel about him. That foundation is from him. So as far as going forward with this regime, I just feel like they'll do what's right. They'll do what's best for the Giants. Daniel Jones does the Giants any kind of hometown discount. We keep hearing that everywhere, and I think it's true. He doesn't. They had a chance to do that, and they passed on it. But ultimately, Jones and Barkley are your cornerstones on offense. They're the cornerstones, the faces of this franchise, and they'll get it done one way or the other. I don't know the numbers. Obviously we don't want to get bent over a barrel, but I don't worry about it. I don't.
Yeah. Wanted to ask this one. He said, "Pizzle, do you live stream games?" I do a couple games a year. I will be doing the one on Sunday afternoon. Have you ever thought about that, Chuck? About live streaming a game by any chance? I know you have your reaction videos.
Well, there was an opportunity this year. I don't know what will happen next year, but there will be some things I'll announce coming next year, and I don't know, with some partners, and we'll see if it'd be solo. But going forward, live streaming, I think that's something that you'll see coming from my channel. But I mean, I see your live streams. I think it's fun to live stream the games because you get fans. The only problem is you have fans that are delayed, like you're seeing something a few seconds ahead of somebody else. So you don't want to fuck it up for somebody else. But
it's it doesn't get talked about enough. It's very, I'm very into the games, and judging from your content, you are too.
Yes.
You're just glued to it. I'm not wanting to miss any play. And sometimes when you're streaming, that gets lost, where it's really hard to kind of do both. I know it doesn't seem like it would be, but you're just worried about, is my stream quality good? Is my everything good here? This, that, people are asking you questions, and this, and you just sometimes miss things, and then you can't have the volume up because then you'll be taken down for copyright issues. I even had one issue where last time I did it, someone was like, "Hey, I can see the game through your glasses," and I was like, "Fuck," and it's just like you don't want there's just so much that's added to it that on the surface it seems like a great idea to stream, but there's challenges with it. So you got to have.
Well, I think you do a good job of balancing both, because I've seen your live streams, and obviously, like your reaction going viral and stuff like that. You're doing something right. I think that for me, I literally, and people see it, I'm right in front of the fucking TV. Like, I don't move, and I don't know if I had to pay attention to, a live stream. I just don't know how authentic I would be able to just, not focus on all of that and just be me, you know what I mean? Like, and not focus on everything else. I think the live stream, what would be great is if you kind of have somebody that's kind of running the show, and then you just go do your thing.
Yeah. That would be ideal. Would be the perfect thing. Do you watch Fist Vegas at all? Have you ever heard of Fist Vegas?
I just heard about your guys' podcast this fall. I caught a couple episodes. I didn't know anything about him. Very interesting guy. I like him. He's edgy.
Very edgy.
Yeah.
I wanted to add to this. Is there anybody in particular that you watch? I mean, you don't have to, it's not being disrespectful that you don't, but like, is there anybody that you really like to follow in particular?
I watch everybody kind of sporadically. Like, I don't just sub to everybody. I just go through, I see things and I watch it. I probably have seen, there's a girl that reacts to Giants games. I've seen her work. What's the talking Giants? There's another one.
Yeah.
Go ahead. What were you saying?
Well, her name's Lauren. I know who you're talking about.
Okay.
And she's a little over the top, but
yeah.
But yeah, she's out there. So you watch Talking Giants?
I don't watch these people. These are like things I've seen. You know, these are names that I see, like but she'll pop up in my feed because she goes viral every once in a while. I see Talking Giants. I think they do the breakdowns. They're one of them that do the breakdowns. And of course you have Bad Dog, you have Entertainer. There's like the core channels that we've kind of had here for the last few years. But I like to also look at that don't have a lot of subs that maybe are coming up and that need a spotlight on them.
I hate when you say shit that I'm just tied to it, because it's like I don't want to sit here and agree with you, but it's like you're right. I've listened to the content that is, they don't get a lot of exposure, not a lot of love, and it's like, damn, these guys or this person deserves a lot more, saying that. So it's like, it's crazy that yeah, you're right. I mean, some I think get a little too much, and I think some could definitely get more. I think her channel is she got sports or something like that.
Yeah, that's right.
Something like that. And
she again, it's it's funny because you don't know. I'm sure she does the same thing where it's like you never know what's going to go viral. And I don't know if we finished.
Well, she's more of I think the younger audience.
She is. And let's be real. I mean, this is a young man here now on YouTube. So it's like
really
we're kind of like relics in this whole fucking thing right now.
It's like, well, it's funny because you said you're over 40, and it's like I'm pushing 40.
Right.
And it's like people are like, yeah, keep it going, Pizzle. And it's just like, it's a young man's game, And believe it or not, there's some young cats out there. It's like, this guy's 40 yelling. It's like, hey, listen, I'm not a psycho. It's just the Giants make me feel this way sometimes. You know what I mean? So
no,
it's like, why do you gotta beat me up about it?
I get that from people, like, because they'll be like, in the hype videos, I am a maniac, and then you watch my reaction videos, I'm even more of a maniac. But then, like, on a podcast, I'm a normal person. I'm calm, and I try not to get too aggressive or anything like that with that. But when you're watching the games, the Giants literally bring out an animal inside of me. So this younger generation, or even the YouTube generation in general, that are coming out there with the sole goal of just trying to make money off of YouTube, more power to them. But I just can't put out anything that I don't sign off creatively. Before I got into this, I have a background in music and video editing, but everything, my whole life has been about doing creative process, art, anything. So I don't just do things to be like, hey, I hope this gets me new subscribers, or I'll get $50 off of this video. I never think like that. So for the people that do, the new YouTube, this new generation, you can make a living off it. You could probably pay some bills.
Yeah.
If you're just going to focus on putting out content all around that is just designed to not necessarily be opinions that you believe in, but just get opinions that are clickbait, you can make money. That's just not me.
Well, it's funny you say that, Chuck, because and I wasn't planning on talking about this, but like I've talked to other content creators and some that make Giants content, and I'll just say, like, what are you making? Like, what are you making for super chats? And then they give me the number, and I'm blown the fuck away by it. I'm like, really? Like, is that really what and it's crazy because I'm so much like you, man, where, again, I hate to say it, we're just almost tied at the hip, where it's like, man, I just want to make something creative.
Yeah.
It's really not about money to me. It's just about, like, I just want to make something creative that either A, makes someone laugh, B, makes someone enjoy, the Giants football even more, or C, they just need a good. I'm sure you get different, messages as well, but like, I really love when I get a message from somebody where they're like, hey, I was having a bad day and you helped me have a good day.
Oh yeah.
Or just, it's just like, you get these messages where, like, you help somebody and you didn't necessarily mean to help them, but you did. And it's just like, holy shit, like, you're making some type of impact. And, like, to me, that's so much more than someone giving me $5.
Oh, dude, you just nailed it. I mean, that's exactly why I still do what I do. When you were bringing up all the hype videos and shit through all those losing seasons, it would have been easy to pack it up. It would have been easy to not embarrass myself, but it's not about anything like that. It's about getting this Giants community all on the same page. And for me, you know, to my channel, I feel like I've been on pause for like the last 6-7 years. And this year it's been phenomenal for me personally and professionally. It's also opened up new avenues. And I'm rather than shying away from that, I'm trying to run full steam in front of it. But, you know, you have to bring things into perspective, because once things start happening, you have to be like, okay, do I keep what's true to myself? This is my first year where I've got sponsors this year. And I am so just focused on the creative process. I don't even promote the shit. Like I don't even promote. I have sponsors that I don't even promote, because I'm just literally focused on getting people ready for Sunday. So this off season, you know, maybe you start to like focus on every off season. You probably do the same thing. It's like, what am I going to add this to my content? What am I going to do going forward? But it's never, ever about how much money can I make. And maybe that's wrong. Maybe that's something that I should do, but I don't know how to do that.
Well, that's what I was going to say. That's what I was bringing up is I think that today's content creators, you know, whether they're making Giants content or not, it's more about the money first and the creativity and the content second. And, you know, it's extremely easy to just sit here in your man cave and just stream and wait for super chats to roll in. But there's a creative process, especially for you. I used to edit videos back in the day, you know, earlier in my YouTube. And I when I was in college, I was in a communication broadcasting and made edits and stuff like that. And I don't even edit I don't like to edit anymore. Like I just don't. So to watch your content and realize the whole editing process that goes with that, there is like, I respect the hell out of that, because I know what that takes.
Yeah.
And so to watch that, there's a part of me that's like, man, Chuck really put a lot of work into that. And like, that's
well,
that, but but I respect the work. You know what I'm saying? Like,
if you're feeling that way, and that's like, I'm sure if somebody says that to you, you know, getting like what you just said a minute ago, if you're having a bad day and your video lifted them up, you may have not gone into the creative process hoping that's what you do, but when you get that feedback, it validates what you're doing. And for somebody to say, hey, you know, I watched your video and I can just tell how much went into that, and I can tell how much hard work you did. That for me, it says it all. When somebody says, hey, I didn't believe in the game this week until I watched your video, but now I do, that says everything to me. That's my work here is done at that point.
Yeah. And I think that I'm so happy to hear you say that, Chuck, because it's so true. And I think it's the way to be, is to, you know, worry about people's, you know, how people are feeling and inspire people to, you know, be a better fan. And I think that there's a lot of young guys, and look, I'm not trying to praise myself or necessarily anybody in general. It's just like, I think they're very lucky to have us, you know, because when I was a young fan, I didn't have YouTube, you know, and I didn't have people motivating me as a fan. All I had, Chuck, was, you know, and you did too. You probably had the same thing, but you know, we had at my house in the 90s, we had one computer in our house. I had to go search there was no content being created for me. I had to go search for myself from a national media standpoint, right? I could go read message boards and things like that. But from Sunday to Sunday, I was kind of searching stuff on my own in my mind, and then I'd see it play out on Sundays. Now you can watch the game and then consume a shit ton of content in between that from individuals, and then you experience the game. So it's like almost in a lot of ways, you've almost played that game in your head way more now than ever before. And then you actually see the game on Sunday. So it's like the content, it wasn't there when we were, but now these kids now today, these, you know, in their teenagers or young 20s, like they've got all this content that helps them not only learn about the game or learn about, you know, what they're watching, but also inspires them to be better fans, which is something that we didn't have.
No, that's an excellent point. And I can't speak for you, but I do think, like, for me, that kind of stuff is why even if I pulled it back, even if I was like, hey, I'm going to scale back the amount of hype videos I do a year, I could never stop. I know that the idea is entertaining to be like, I'm just going to walk away. But if for me personally, if I can go through all these seasons where we were absolute dog shit and sometimes didn't even miss a beat, I've submitted the fact that at some capacity, I'm going to have to always do this because I am the Giants. Like the Giants are me. Giants are you. You listening to this right now, you are the Giants. One of the things that I hate people say to me all the time is they say we. Why do you say we? We are the Giants, the fans, everything about the Giants. We are all part of this whole thing. The Giants don't exist without fans and vice versa. We are all part of this together. So when fans see, it's not just because you bought a ticket or you bought a jersey. It's because you lived and died on these plays on Sunday. It's because you experienced these highs and these lows. That's we. We are all this together. So I can't stop making Giants content because the Giants exist. As long as the Giants exist, I'm here.
Well, a matter of fact, I said almost that exact thing a week and a half ago, where it's like the Steelers fans make the Steelers what they are. Yes. There's the Eagle fans, right? Like, and then there's why do we hate the Cowboys? Because there's damn fans,
right? You know, and they feel that same way about us. They want to shut us up.
Yeah, but it's like that's part of it. Like the fans, the fan base, and this is why I'm so passionate when people are beating up on Daniel or they beat up on Eli or just whatever. It's like you are potentially making an impact on the team in a negative way. Because I mean, how can he not help but maybe see that one day? And it's like, well, nobody, you know, or if the fans go and boo him, and it's like, look, I'm trying as hard as I can, and you're booing the hell out of me. You know,
well, there's a thin line between being like, hey, I'm criticizing you to hope you get better, and it's also, hey, I don't want to notice any of the good things you'd ever do.
Exactly. So but it's the fan base does. It's not just we're not just people who just give money away. To this organization. It's part of who the team is, who the franchise is. There's tradition there. And that's one thing I've noticed about a lot of your content is like you will put fans in your content that are rooting and stuff like that, or you'll put it out there. And so it is important. And I'm glad that you said that because I feel the same way.
Well, without them, I don't exist. I mean, without the eyes and ears, it's the tale of, two things, because without the Giants fans, there's no me. There's no reason to do what I do. If you live and die off only Giants content, unfortunately, the off season really doesn't exist much. That's the fortunate thing where other guys who've kind of grown these channels into being massive channels. And I salute guys like, Bad Dog, for instance, who's kind of grown his platform by branching out and doing other things. I think I can't speak for everybody else out there, but there's always that desire. I could talk Yankees, I could talk, all kinds of stuff, but I just can't bring out that same passion for anything else but the Giants. So for me, I'm like fine in this box. But if other people can grow and they can take things from the Giants' roots and take it out there and take it even further, then go for it. Because like what you brought up earlier, I mean, Barstool and all these places or things that happen to me and happen to you, those eyes and ears, that's all, we're all part of the same thing. And you are part of that, the groundwork from this entire beginning from 20 years ago almost. But it's great to see people succeed, let them succeed.
You said something so true because man, that's the same. It's like, you know what? I want to create another different type of YouTube channel. We're doing something else. And then I get through the process of doing it and I'm like, fuck, I don't have the passion.
Yeah.
I don't have the same feeling that I have it's like the Giants is what carries me to continue to upload those videos and to put them out there. And so that is 100. It's like % right. Where it's like, how do you, and I don't know if it's just like, maybe some people can turn it on and turn it off, but it's like, for me, I can't. It's like, I have to, it's almost like, it's like I almost have to have that Giants injected in me to have that passion, put it out there. So, but Chuck, I think we went long enough. I don't want to hold you all night. I know you got a video you got to upload and maybe finish up. And I just wanted to tell you, man, I love you to death, brother. I'm so happy you came on and shared your story with me and talk a little Giants football. I'm so happy that your channel is continuing to grow. And people, I don't know if you know, license plate guy fucking loves you.
Oh, I love LPG. He's the man.
I've talked to him a couple times, handful of times, and he loves ChuckKnoxx, and he's got a buddy that runs with him.
Yeah, helmet guy.
Yeah, he really loves you.
Oh, he's great too.
I just want to tell you, I'm proud of you, and I love the content. Keep it up. And I hope the Giants have a great run for us, and I just can't wait to see what more content you produce, brother.
Well, that's amazing. Everything you just said, I really appreciate it, man. And coming from you, that's high praise. And I feel like right now, 48 hours, under 48 hours now, for us to return to the playoffs, to have us right here, two of the old school guys here on YouTube, but I think two guys that do something drastically different on YouTube for Giants fans. I'm glad fans could come out here tonight on the eve of this and experience this whole thing together. But let's just hope that this is not it. Let's hope that this is not the final week, and we got more of this to come, because this is an amazing feeling. I hope anybody that's out there listening to this can embrace it, enjoy it, because you don't know if this Sunday is going to be next year again. Is it going to be 5, 6 years or more from now? So just slow it down. I'm going to drop this hype video later tonight. Tomorrow, everybody's going to check it. It's going to be in your body. It's going to be in your veins. Get ready for Sunday. And then whatever happens from there, let's just enjoy this moment.
Yeah. And again, guys that are watching live, or anybody, if you're watching in a replay form, just click the link at Mr. ChuckKnoxx. It'll take you to his channel. It's a great feature that YouTube has now. Anywhere else that they can find you, Chuck? I know how can they find you on Facebook, maybe Twitter?
Facebook and YouTube, Mr. ChuckKnoxx. Everywhere else, whether it's TikTok, Twitter, Instagram.
Are you on TikTok too?
I am all three of those at
I don't do
ChuckKnoxx.
TikTok, but that's great to hear that you're on TikTok.
Oh yeah, man, I'm invading everywhere. This is, you got to branch out. If there's a corner in the internet that's got to have Giants content, I'm coming to it.
That's awesome. No, that's great, man. So yeah, give it all to them. Give it to them all.
There you go, Mr. ChuckKnoxx, YouTube and Facebook and Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at ChuckKnoxx. So I'm there every day. Some stuff that don't have, but I try to engage every single day, and especially this weekend. So I appreciate you having me on. And for those that have never heard of me, if you check out my channel, I appreciate it. And hopefully you're going to be entertained and pumped up for this game. And I hope to bring you there.
That's awesome, Chuck. I really appreciate you coming on. Yeah, please go subscribe, go follow wherever else Chuck is across the whole landscape. He's everywhere. He's all the way from Alaska to Argentina. He's there. He's got you covered. So please go follow him. He's a great content creator, a great Giants fan, and I just think he's the man. So Chuck, I appreciate it. Hang with me here. I'm gonna shut this broadcast down, but appreciate you guys checking the stream out tonight. I hope you guys enjoyed it and loved it, and I thought it. When I went out and sought after Chuck, I said, shit, man, this is playoff week. First time in a long time. I got to go get Chuck. I got to go get the man. So went out and got him, and thankful enough that we were able to work out a time to do it. And so I'm grateful that he was able to make some time for me and put it out there. So Chuck, I appreciate you, buddy. And
thank you, brother.
I appreciate you guys joining us tonight. So
thank you all. Thank you all for coming out.
All right, you guys be looking out for more content. I will be live on Sunday. Come check me out, and then obviously we'll have our post game video and all that good stuff. So go check out Chuck too. Thanks, guys.